Okay. All right, so I'm Eric. Hello, everybody. I just want to thank Gabriel and Serenity for having me and for having all of us. I'm really enjoying it so far, so thank you. Let's see. So first off, I guess I should explain what that hat is. That is an invention that I've been working on for the past couple of years. I did not invent the underlying technologies. There's other people who came up with the base technologies, but putting them together, there's no hat that has PEMF frequencies, which is pulsed electromagnetic frequency, which helps your brain enter into different states of consciousness. The biomagnets, so there's high-powered magnets on the inside and the outside of the hat, which will draw blood flow into the brain. And then it also has sound as the frequency is bouncing off of the magnet. So it has frequency, magnetism, and sound. And it's one of the things that I use to heal my own brain damage. I had a traumatic brain injury as a child to the front of my head, so like right here. And I don't know if you guys have studied the different regions of the brain, but the front is like impulse control, behavior, addiction. And so for like the first 27, 28 years of my life, I did not have a functioning prefrontal cortex. So I had drug addiction, I was homeless, I could not keep jobs, I could not stay in relationships. I've been locked up in psych wards multiple times, suicidal. It was very, very bad. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder, placed on schizophrenia meds. It's been a rough life. Things are much better now because I started healing my brain. But even things that most people would be basic, like interacting with people in social situations, my brain is still wiring some of those things. Okay, so I'm going to talk more about that, but first I wanted to show you guys a way to activate your own pineal gland, just in a practical way. And I have the skull to demonstrate. So if you guys know what a tongue lock is, so like on the roof of your mouth, you have this cavity that goes up inside your skull. If you can create like a seal inside your mouth by bringing your tongue back to that back part of your mouth. I don't know, can you guys see this? Mm-hmm. Okay. So some of you can actually go back behind that roof. If you can't do that, it's okay as long as you have a seal. And then you're going to create a seal in your ears with your fingers. Or actually, before you'll be able to hear me still. We're gonna make the sound hue. So it's HU, and it's just hue. So you're gonna tongue lock as far as you can go, ears plugged, and then we're just gonna make the sound hue. Did anybody notice anything?
Sorry, I just want to make sure, is the tongue flat on top of the mouth, or is it like curled back?
As long as it's sealed so that sound isn't escaping out of your mouth, because you want it to go up. So some people can actually, if the bottom part of their tongue is flexible enough, they can actually go up that cavity. But if you can't, you just want it sealed. Did anybody feel anything or notice anything?
I felt like what I forget what that was like probably felt very similar to that kind of sensation. Like this pulsating vibration, like almost like bees inside of my head.
Cool. Yeah, so your pineal gland is in the dead center of your skull. So if you can imagine, it's just floating right in here. So if you create a seal on sound inside your cranium and it doesn't leave your body, it's going straight up into this like resonance chamber. And that sound is supposedly the sound of God. So you're invoking the sound of God in your pineal gland. Okay, I'm getting a little sidetracked, but yeah. So I had a traumatic brain injury as a child, had a lot of mental illness, placed on a lot of serious medications that I'm no longer on, but I was still dealing with pretty heavy depression. And so I was working with a psychic, and she recommended I go see this guy up in LA who puts balloons up your sinuses and decompresses your skull. And that was the missing piece of the puzzle for myself, was the mechanical aspects of your brain and decompressing the bones of your skull off of your brain. Because if you think about it, when you have a trauma to your head, those bones are going to collapse in on your brain. And so now your brain is being pinched, and it's not getting cerebral spinal fluid, it's not getting the neurotransmitters, it's not getting oxygen, it's not getting the movement. Your skull is supposed to expand with each inhale, because you can see that your skull is not one solid bone. There's 22 bones. They're like the tectonic plates of the earth. Every time you inhale, it actually expands a couple millimeters, and then it contracts. And that's what pumps all of the fluids throughout your brain. If you get hit in the head, you lose that pumping action because these sutures where the bones move, they lock. And so for me, I was hit right, like on the left front. So this suture was very locked up for me. And that's where all the self-control and behavior regulation is, right here. So immediately within a couple times of getting this procedure done for myself, which is actually having balloons inserted your sinus cavities, they're inflated and your skull actually cracks and expands. I started feeling very different immediately within a couple of days. I was on disability at the time, and so I had a very good contrast, like a before and after. I went from being like in bed sick and suicidal to within a couple months, I'm traveling the country doing this procedure for other people. So the way I learned it is that I knew I needed this technique, this procedure. I was on my last disability paycheck before I ran out of money. And so I actually taught myself how to do this. And that might sound very strange to some of you guys listening, but it's true. Like, the universe does always provide a way for you to continue moving forward in life. And for me, I've always been able to learn things with my hands very easily. So I'm observing this guy. I know I don't have enough money to continue seeing him. I have to figure something out. I'm running out of money. And so I buy the equipment. I start practicing on myself. I figure it out on myself. And then I go into him on my last session with him, and I just tell him what I've been doing. Please don't be offended. Here's the situation. Do you mind if I do it to you to confirm that I've been doing it correctly? Nailed it on the first time with him. I had a brief apprenticeship with him, and then I started traveling the country. So I went from being in bed sick to going all over the place and working with people. And I've seen all kinds of miracles happen with this. I've worked with a lot of suicidal people. Like I said, I was suicidal. I've worked with drug addicts. I've seen people in severe car accidents and motorcycle accidents with like twisted heads, twisted faces, have really big shifts. I've seen people with sleep apnea. I used to have sleep apnea. I no longer sleep with a CPAP mask. It's a very powerful technique. I could talk forever about it, but I think it probably would be more helpful to demonstrate on Gabriel. Does that sound good? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Is this something that is only recommended for people that have experienced blunt force trauma, or what would someone that be like a major injury or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, what would be the benefit for someone like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Blunt force trauma to the head would be the most obvious person that would need it and see like the most immediate benefits. But the reality is that we all have brain damage from various things. Like even bumping your head like on a car door, you don't think is a big deal, but your brain is so delicate that even just little jarring motions, even just like not hitting your head, just like snapping your head back and forth, your brain is bouncing around inside your skull cavity. And it's really your most prized possession, because if you have poor brain function, it's going to affect your ability to make money, to get downloads from the universe for inventions, to start businesses. It's going to affect your ability to regulate your emotions and have healthier relationships. So your brain is your most prized possession, really. And I think it's weird that we live in a society where people will spend $80,000 on a car, but they won't spend $1,000 on their body or their brain. But I think as science learns more about the brain, people will be more willing to invest in your brain, because it really is it's your IQ, emotions with the head heart, psychic downloads. I could talk about that with the Egyptians. They would drill holes in their skull to try to let in more light codes from the sun, to have new ideas for technology. Yeah. Yes.
Could it help with breathing, just like nasal passage?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's probably the most superficially, because some of the deeper problems in the brain will take longer to get further back and deeper in the skull. But your breathing is so superficial on the front of your face. That's one of the first things that would get fixed, is to be able to take in more air. Yes.
What about like deviated septum and stuff? Like how does that?
So a deviated septum is when the nose is crooked, right?
Has like
One is smaller than the other?
or something.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I try not to use the medical terminology too much. But yes, so let me show you on the. So actually, if you guys want to come closer, because this is kind of a smaller skull, and I'll pass it around after I show you guys. But you actually have 6 different sinus cavities. Can you see the different ones? So you have 3 on each side. So based off the shape of a person's skull, I go into one of these 3 passages. So there's a lower one, which is like the roof of your mouth and your cheekbone. There's a middle one, which is like the upper part of your cheekbone and the eye socket, and then the top is like the frontal plate. And so based off of the shape of a person's skull, and you can see, like by looking at people, some people that have an eye that's like more contracted because the nerve is being pinched to their eye, where the damage is. But I'm sorry, what did you specifically ask?
Yeah, just like deviated septum.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so if one side is smaller than the other, it's because one of those specific cavities is locked up.
And that will help with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and the surgery is not, most of the people that I've talked to that have the deviated septum surgery are not pleased with their results.
I have a deviated surgery and I'm not pleased with
Yeah,
it.
so
Mm.
mine got worse.
Well, and that's because it's just,
Do anything at all.
Yeah.
I had surgery and then I even had there's like little pieces of meat, I guess, inside like that blocked radioactive something they apply to make it smaller, because I always had stuffy nose, but even that didn't work. Like,
and that's because it's what they're doing is they're just shaving the tissue on the inside, which is more of a symptomatic treatment, when they really need to actually move everything, like even the back of the skull. For people with spine issues, your spine comes up in here, right? So your cerebrospinal fluid is draining out of this hole in your skull down your spine. If this bone, so this sphenoid bone, which is this that makes up your temples, if this is out, your whole spine underneath it is going to be out relative to that, because this is like your compass for your body to orient like in time and space. So if you get hit here and now it's tilted up a couple centimeters, your hips are out, your knees out, your feet are out, and you can probably feel it. So that's kind of a structural part of it. Hormonally, your pituitary gland sits right on that little saddle. So if you have any hormonal problems, it's very possible that that gland is being compressed mechanically, or the nerve to it is being pinched somewhere. So I've seen women that haven't had their period for years, their period comes back after doing this, and that seems strange, right? Like if this is up here, that's down there. But your pituitary gland is your master gland for all of your hormones. I've seen men with erectile dysfunction start, their girlfriend has a smile on their face again the next day. So pituitary gland's right here, pineal gland's back there. You're stimulating the pineal gland as well, just by getting that pumping action back in the skull. So mechanically, hormonally, and then kind of spiritually, I was saying if you open up these sutures, because for most people these sutures are fused, they're locked together. Just over time they calcify. If we open them up, you have a space, and that's how you receive these downloads from the sun, the moon, the stars, because your pineal gland is your receiver. It's like your antenna to communicate with God or the universe or whatever.
What is the procedure called that you're doing?
I call it endocranial alignment. The family I learned it from is called neurocranial restructuring. The generic term would be endonasal sinus ballooning. There are quite a few people, doctors and chiropractors, who do it, but they don't use enough force. They're using it more superficially with the nose. Through doing it on myself, because I had very heavy brain damage, I started doing it with a lot more force to really unlock the bones, and so there's definitely different approaches to doing it.
And just curious
Mhm.
about the suicidal or depressive. Is that just from the prefrontal cortex, or like you're saying that that same area that you were saying behaviors, addictions, that's also connected with the depression and the suicide, or?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's not quite that black and white. Like, I definitely had other environmental issues, but if your brain's not working, then you start to create a negative environment, and maybe you attract more abuse because people are like, what's wrong with this person? They can't control themselves, and then you get treated worse, and it just perpetuates the cycle. It's not uncommon for people to have emotional releases after the ballooning, because the memories are stored in your brain. If that part of your brain is not working, all of a sudden it's working, the memory comes flooding in. Usually not on the first time, but I've seen it on the second and third times. People cry for an hour, and not from physical pain, from the emotions coming out.
How many sessions?
It's different for everybody. I would say to really get an accurate feel for it, you really would need to do at least 3. If you just did 1, you might get a good feel for it, but you're not going to see like a dramatic shift. The way I do it in my clinic, I do 3 days in a row with a person. So I spend like an hour with them. Then they would go breathe in hydrogen air for an hour. We have a hydrogen breathing room, which the hydrogen regenerates the brain and the nerves. And so once this is all opened up, it really gets deep into your brain. And then you'd go sit we have a healing scalar frequency room. So it has a bunch of screens that's blasting scalar frequencies. So it's like a 3 2 to 3 hour process.
What's the scalar?
Well, I actually couldn't explain that verbally very well. It's some type of, I believe it's one of Nikolai Tesla's inventions or technologies, but it's basically it's healing frequency. This is scalar frequency. So this is scalar plasma. There's scalar sound, plasma, light, silver.
Is something coming out of it?
Yeah.
Like it, but then it's like disappearing.
So this is a plasma bolt of electricity.
Laser? Looks like it's shooting out light bullets.
Yeah, it's like electricity or plasma. I use this on the sutures of the skull before I balloon them to try to break up any calcifications or adhesions so that the skull bones move better. If I'll pass this around if you guys want to try it. If you don't have, nobody has any implants or electronic devices in their body? No cyborgs?
No cyborgs, but what about like piercings? Because I'm noticing several of us have nose piercings.
That should be fine. It would hit it. Like I'll just show you. I can use it on my face. It might shock you a little bit, but it's not gonna. You can use this off your body in your field. It clears out your field. You can use it on scar tissue. It breaks up scars. It removes forever chemicals from your tissues. This is a scalar plasma projector. I have a discount code for the guy that builds them on Instagram if you would like to buy one. He's a really interesting guy. Scalar plasma projector. If you want,
Find you as BioShaman? Or
on Instagram it's elite_healing. And I have a link that you get a discount code if you want to buy one of these from this guy, or you can just talk to me.
On the welcome email that all of you received, there's the
And try it.
links that everyone's listed.
Just don't shoot it in your eyes.
There, but I will also make sure to send an email afterwards.
And where is your clinic?
Right now it's in Laguna Niguel. Mm-hmm. Does anybody have any other questions?
How long is the process of, like, if someone had a surgery and they want to remove the scar tissue
With the plasma?
yeah, like, what does that process look like?
It probably would be better to have your own and just do it daily on yourself. Maybe some DMSO and like magnesium, and then blast it with that.
I think Alexis had a question.
And then
So when you're working on someone, do you always apply the same amount of pressure? Because you said that like when you're doing it, you do it differently than chiropractic. You apply more force. Is that the same for every like patient?
No, so she's asking if it's the same for everybody. No, so depending on how old someone is, I get a vibe off their personality, what they can take. And I always start off, so I use different size balloons, different shape balloons, different thickness of balloons, and I always start the person off with like a small, weak balloon just to gauge how they respond. And then as they continue the process, we use bigger and stronger balloons to get bigger expansions. Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about, like, the history of this technology? Like,
Maybe we should wait for the.
Yeah, pause. I'll pause.
you know, our bodies are like complex systems, so there could be like multiple, like second, third order effects, like nth order effects that happen. And so I'm just wondering if if it's been studied for like adverse effects or potential like negative effects and risks.
Well, during it sounds like you're asking more like long term, right?
Yeah, just
Or
the overall
during.
effect, whether
I do have one study from a medical doctor, and he found so you have it's called your dura mater, I believe, which is the fascial layer that runs around your skull. That runs all the way down your whole body. So this doctor was studying if by reducing the dural torque on the skull, he found that it alleviated all kinds of health problems because like 80% of your nervous system is above your shoulders. So you might have something going on with your liver, but if it's because the neurological connection that runs to your liver is damaged up here, the root fix is actually up in your head. That's not what you're asking though.
That's okay. I'm also curious, like, how would you reconcile that with like the ideas that have come out about like how the body keeps the score?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think this is kind of restoring the connection from your brain to your body. So you have signaling from your brain down to your body, which is called afferent signaling, that's with an A. And then you have signaling from your body, a stimulus on your body up to your brain, and that's called an efferent signal with an E. And they're both important because, like, if I wiggle my foot, the part of my brain that's connected to my foot is being stimulated and turned on. So that's why exercise is so important. Like, you're actually exercising your brain because all the signaling from your body is going up to your brain and making sure that it's firing. Does that answer your question?
It's like if the source of a trauma gets stored, like in your hips, let's say, I guess, are you saying it's still possible to kind of like come at it and heal it from the brain, which then sends a signal down there, opposed to like healing the deeper root source in the body?
I think, and what I found is that, yeah, if you even have a sexual trauma down here, if the neurology, which is the wiring of your machine, is cut off from your brain and your heart, you can't heal it because you're actually physically disassociated from that part of your body. So you can talk about it intellectually, but if your nervous system isn't connected to it, you can't heal it on a somatic level. And so a lot of the people, after they do this, the thing they're crying about is I was raped, I was touched as a little kid. And you're like, we weren't even really working on your pelvis. But if the brain can't access the memory or the connection to that part of your body, how are you going to heal it? It's like looking at something through a glass window and you can't touch it. You have to have the connection. That's what I found, at least. Does that make sense?
It seems like such a powerful tool you have. I'm curious to see, the subject, but like such a powerful tool, and you try that for yourself, like super transformative. People coming to you with complex trauma. How does it? I mean, like curious how it feels, how it's come into be like being like a tangible healer.
Mm-hmm.
And then also what that's like in, like, do you find you have a process for follow-up, or like how do you work on like the safety of that when people are possibly unfolding like so much? And then also I think you're covering like the physical risks as well, like how do you hold the risk?
I really like to do it in some type of container and multiple days in a row, because the first day is kind of like opening Pandora's box and you don't really know what's going to come out. And so I don't really work with people just in one session anymore because I don't know that it's in their benefit. This weekend I'd be willing to, because I feel like we're kind of in a container, and if someone has a bad reaction, because a lot of people do have negative emotions come up the following days, at least you're around people who you can like talk with and kind of process it with. But I don't anymore like have people come to my office and just do one and I don't see them again, because it just doesn't seem, it's like we're like I said, opening Pandora's box, and you really don't know what's going to come out, because some people say, oh, I'm coming to you because I want to breathe better. And the next thing you know, they're crying about how their dad touched them. And it's like, well, that's not where we started. So we obviously took a detour somewhere along the line. And then physical safety. So there's only been one recorded death from this, and it was a newborn infant, and they had just come out of the canal, and they had a misshapen skull. And someone thought it was a good idea while the skull was still soft, they wanted to reshape the skull. But with an infant, their breathing passageways are so tiny that a balloon can very easily block it. And so I just tell you that because I'm an honest person. I've never hurt anyone, I've never killed anyone, but there is one recorded death of that, and that's like why doctors and pharmaceutical companies will say that this is a whack thing to do, because there is, that on record. But this would eliminate the psychiatric industry entirely, because I don't know anyone as mentally ill as I was, and now I'm living a relatively normal life. I still have my issues that I'm working on, but like I'm well enough to run my own business and hold my crazy in for a couple minutes at a time.
So the last question of my main questions is like, you went from brain injury with more challenge of impulse management, like all the things, and then now you're doing healing where you're like, there's all the dark, like heaviest stuff often for people. How has that journey been for you too? Like, how is it to be both I poked your head and it looks like a magic solution, but actually I get to be here and like catch?
Well, because I was 24/7 suicidal for like a decade. And so I had to play a lot of games with myself not to end my own life. But one of the things I would do is I would tell myself, okay, I can't kill myself because I have to figure this out for myself and then turn around and help other people, because I'm not the only one struggling with this. So I made it was bigger than myself. I'm like, because if it was just about me, I would have killed myself, because my life sucked. Like, I had no money, I had no relationships, I'm a complete, total outcast in every aspect of life. So I think just in general, if you have a goal or a vision, if you can make it bigger than yourself, like the universe definitely will open doors for you that wouldn't be accessible to your normal person. Because if you want to help the universe, like the universe is going to help you. And so, yeah, I told him I would pray. I would say, if you help me figure this out, like I promise you, I'll help other people. So, I'm sorry, I'm probably not answering these questions very well. Okay. Yeah.
I had a question.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard of craniosacral therapy?
Mm-hmm.
And how, because it's also like it deals with, like the movement of the bone, like the sphenoid bone, the fluid, and because also like in that therapy they're also talking about like helping the bones of the skull breathe. I was wondering, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think cranial sacral is beneficial. So cranial sacral is working from the outside of the skull on the suture lines, right? Do you do cranial sacral?
I studied it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not an expert in it, but it's basically your hands are on the outside of the skull, and you'll find where someone's sutures are locked up, and you'll kind of press and manipulate, I think more gently, right? And it definitely works, but for people with like really more serious problems, it requires equal and opposite force. Like if I take a baseball bat to your head, it's going to take equal and opposite force to undo that damage. And so this is like cranial sacral from inside the head, popping it out. It's like if you get a dent in your car door, they have to go inside the car door and bang it out from the inside. But like with the sphenoid bone, which is this bone, it's so locked in and compressed. It's literally called the keystone of the skull. I don't think you can really move that bone externally. But I do think cranial sacral is definitely beneficial, and I use it in my sessions. I work on the outside of a person's head after the sutures are broken up because they're much more malleable.
One thing I wanted to share, the past 4 or 5 years, I've been involved in 2 motorcycle accidents and one time when I was just being right on the verge of being reckless. Yeah, wow. But I noticed a significant shift in my life, in some ways positive, but in some ways negative after those impacts. Specifically in my personality, and specifically in the how can I say this in a way that makes sense? A shift in the way I processed emotions before and after these accidents, you know. And one thing that I really appreciate about what we get to do together, and what we, I mean, healers of different modalities, of different shapes. And we had a conversation that was similar to this before, is that oftentimes what I find is that there are these different modalities that address an aspect of the totality of what healing can be like for the world, and what's possible to experience, right? And yoga, somatic healing, therapy, hypnosis, this procedure, all of these different things. I believe that we are entering into an era where we really are meant to go off and in some way yoga to be at the forefront of like what that gets to look like. So that's why I'm really excited about being able to volunteer for this. And when I met Eric and the conversations that I've had with Eric, I really feel that him and his work and the things that he's learned from his teachers are in a similar way trying to grasp at that, right? Because we all understand that there are systems that seek to perpetuate themselves, not by giving healing, but by giving more remedies to things. And I'm very interested in what does it look like to find a direct approach to something that gives us permanent, lasting change that is for the better. So to that end, I'm very grateful for all of you to be able to be here and to be able to witness that. This is my first time doing this session as well. So let's see. I'm ready.
And then after I work on behavioral, if we have enough time, I know Alina's gonna present something too. Do you think we have enough time to do some like trauma release exercises?
Yeah, totally.
Is that okay with you, Alina?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need to switch this one out?
Do you want to keep talking?
If I can record me working on you, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna work on you a little bit first, just to kind of like relax your body and stuff, and then we'll do it. You can lay face up. I'm gonna pass the skull around. There's a lot of tiny pieces if it comes apart, so I just ask if it does come apart, just maybe put the piece inside the skull cavity. But it's really interesting to see it. sure. All right. You feel comfortable laying down?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Are there any external sounds part of the procedure, like hearing
So the more locked up a person's skull is, the louder the crack is. When I actually do the balloons, if you guys want to come closer, you're more than welcome to. But one of the reasons I like to mic it up is some of the cracks that you get are crazy.
Yeah. I thought that they were like, you added the sound later because it sounds so loud.
I know.
Yeah, it's like a visceral pop.
Well, think about it. As you look at that skull, look at all the junction points or the sutures where your skull meets. That's a lot of potential adjustments that are happening.
Cool.
So I'm going to work on Gabriel. If you come and work with me in 3 days, I put together that 3-day protocol. So I open up different parts of the body on each day. So on day 1, I open up the hands and the forearms. And the natives believe that these channels are how you create and you manifest. So if your arms and your forearms are locked up, you can't take your imagination and actualize it into the physical. And this is also how you let go of emotions and stuff. So I'm gonna work in here, and it's usually not the most comfortable, but. And actually, if you guys want to partner up, if you want to do this, what I'm doing with another person, would you guys like to do that?
I want to see it too, though.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it.
If you guys want to come closer, you're more than welcome to.
Come closer. Do you want to grab the phone, baby? Take some pictures. You want to take some pictures, some video? Cool. Oh.
But I got to learn some body work with a shaman in New Mexico, and he was curing people of HIV and cancer just from body work, just by opening up channels on the body. But you have,
Do you want me to take this off?
yeah, that would be helpful. You have these tendons on the top of your hands that I like to rake them with my knuckles, and you'll hear the raking. Raking, like the cracking of them, like listen. But it makes sense to everyone, right? Like if your hands are locked up, like everything that you touch, your energy is not flowing out of your imagination up here. And maybe attachment, holding on to things, right, with your hands. You all right?
Yeah.
Okay. I know it's intense. And
Yeah.
so if you want
really
to
feel how tight it is too.
Oh yeah. So this fascial line, it runs up into the neck. So you can fix people's necks by working on their hands and their forearms. But I like to take like a claw like this and just on top. I'm using my knuckles. And then you have this tendon that runs across the forearm, and I like to get that one with my thumb. And you can kind of have this as like an action pumping hand, and you're just pinning here. This is a really good intense one. If you sit on the table, you have the person's arm up, and then literally like a saw. But the ways, I like body work because the ways that you learn to use your body, like your body has weapons on it, it has instruments, it has all these tools that you wouldn't think of using it in body work that you can. I think this rolling, is this Qigong? Do they do some Qigong or no? Or no, that's Tui, no. This is a good way to move energy, just the outside of your hand with a limp wrist. How does that one feel?
Yeah, it feels a lot better.
It's kind of different.
Yeah.
But I do feel.
So that was his wrist. Your right side?
Yeah.
And so the right side in general, not always, is more of masculine stuff. The left side is feminine. But yeah, like on day 1, I would do the arms and the forearms. Day 2, I would get into the chest cavity, because these points are so close to your heart. This is where a lot of the emotional traumas are stored.
Is this like golfing at all? Have you ever golfed?
Yeah, it's not that different. But I've just taken pieces of different techniques that I've liked that work for me, and that just put them together. You're right. But this is something I do to myself. And if you guys, I don't know if anyone else ever feels like they just feel stuck in an emotion, you can't intellectually figure out what it is. If you just start digging into different parts of your body, it may just pop into your head like, oh, that's what this is. Because I think in especially America and Western culture, we try to figure things out in our head first. But really, your body is the first body up to brain. So yeah, your left side is a lot tighter than your right side. And the reason also why we do all this, if I just had him on the table and start shoving things up his nose, there's no safety, there's no rapport, there's no foreplay, right? And then they're tense and you don't get a good adjustment. And most, like if you went to a doctor or a chiropractor, they see 60 to 80 people a day. Yeah. I see like 2 to 3. And so you think you're going to get a bigger movement if someone's spending an hour with you versus like 10 minutes? It's a lot different experience. All right, so let's see. I guess I'll work on your head for a couple of minutes. Are we okay on time? Okay. So, do you guys have that skull?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as I'm feeling someone's skull, I'm feeling for these suture lines, right? And so maybe there's a part where they kind of overlap. And that's usually because if someone's hit right here, these will kind of press together and you'll feel more of a ridge on that suture line, right? And so if I find something like that, I'm gonna, like, let me see if I can find one in real time on Gabriel and show you guys. So there's a little, can you feel where it's not quite even right here, Gabriel?
Yeah.
So that is this suture line right here on the top of his head, the frontal plate and the parietal plate.
Huh.
So if you want to fix that, and you can do this on yourself, you're just going to find where that bump is, and with not a ton of pressure, you're just going to kind of sink, and you're just going to try to smooth it out, and you will feel the bones like slide under your fingers. You don't want to push down. If the plate is jammed this way, you want to slide it that way, right? Can I show you with your hand?
Yeah.
Can you feel that right there? Like that's like right, that part.
Yeah, I can literally feel like a little like bump almost.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not huge, but it's subtle.
It's very subtle, but yeah, I can feel that. So is that like a plate on top of the other?
Yeah, that's literally that plate right here. So you probably were hit or pressure to the front of it. I mean, even like if you sleep face down on a pillow for 10 years, like you're pressing the plates of your skull up against your brain.
Yeah.
So which direction are you compressing them?
Well, you kind of have to use some intuition, but probably was hit from the front, right? If you just look at the shape of this plate.
So you ask a client.
You could, but I guess I'm subconsciously just factoring in a lot of things. I don't really like think about it, but if I like on the front, it probably was more from a direct impact. So I'm going to push this way. If it's like on the top, right here on this parietal one, then I'm gonna try to just feel into it and see if it needs to go like that way or that way, because a lot of it is intuition. But yeah, if they verbally tell you, like I was hit on this side, then you generally want to push back to the side that it came from.
Yeah.
Because I studied like a similar technique, and we would like kind of like place our hands like on two sides, and we would just kind of like try to like open this up.
Yeah, from both
And we
directions.
also were working through like this one, you know, because like there used to be a suture here when we were born, and then it kind of like grew together. So there's also like kind of like
I didn't
opening
even
through
know
this-
that.
Yeah.
On the frontal plate?
Opening through this way.
Wow, that's fascinating. So I wonder,
Yeah,
she's saying that we're born,
grows,
so it
molds
calcifies.
together.
So I wonder if that's something that can be opened as an adult.
I'll look it up.
Okay. But like just to prove to you guys that like science and medical textbooks are not always correct, do you see a frontal suture line on this skull? It's not there, but you have a source for that, because that would be interesting.
It's also good for like TMJ and like lockjaw and like all that stuff.
I can adjust the jaw directly, but if you look at this, the jaw is almost a separate entity from the rest of the skull. So
but if it's like the jaw has been like kind of pushed up a little bit, then it would have to do with like the other bones, kind of.
it could.
Yeah.
If Gabriel wants, I'll show you guys what it looks like. He does have a plate on his jaw.
So that's when we were born. There's the metopic.
Oh, interesting.
Ridge, and then it kind of this is like the skull of a child. Here's a good one.
Wow. That's wild. So don't listen to your doctor, because they might not have correct information. If you look at old anatomy textbooks of where the kidneys are, the kidneys have been coming up higher and higher in the body every year. Or I forget if it's higher or lower, but they're moving in textbooks, which is strange. So we're just kind of trying to line everything up, and then I'll use that. Can someone hand me the plasma gun? Because the plasma will break up calcification, so if I use that on the sutures. Is it okay if I use this on your head?
Yeah.
You just don't want to use it in someone's eyes? Is it okay?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of shocking. You can smell the ozone in the air because this creates ozone, O3.
Oh, is it the bird smell?
All right. And
Are you
then
following the sutures, or you just kind of went?
this thing hits like the first point of contact, so it's kind of hard to be super specific with it.
That's true.
But yeah, I was trying to get the sutures. All right, so now I'm going to have Gabriel sit up in the chair, and I'm going to set his atlas and axis, because those are the two bones that are right beneath that sphenoid bone. So if we move these, it'll be easier to move that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to sit in this chair?
Is that like neck cracking?
Yes. Are you good with neck cracking?
Never had it done.
No, you never had it done?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay with it?
Yeah. Should I put my hair?
That would be helpful. I think this chair will work. Let's see. You don't have any... So me and Gabriel already had a conversation, because if you guys wanted to do this, I obviously would ask you some questions, but he let me know that he has a metal plate in his jaw, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have...
lower left.
But you don't have anything up here?
No.
Okay. So the nerves, so each vertebrae in your spine has a nerve that goes to a different part of your brain. So the atlas and the axis, they go to your pituitary and your pineal glands. So if those two bones are out of place, those glands inside your brain are not being stimulated to the optimal level. And that's why all of these ancient traditions and stuff, their spine was so important to them. Like the reason that yoga is important is not because like you're doing all these cool things. They want your spine to be aligned, because it literally is affecting your brain function. Cool. So just try to let go. So feel how it's stuck going to the right.
Mm-hmm.
So his atlas is out, like, does that hurt right there? Or uncomfortable?
Feel a little bit of pressure.
Okay. So usually the atlas is the bone like right underneath your occiput. So this bone in the back, you can feel it's usually out to one side or the other. It's usually where it's harder. That's the side that it's out to. And that's the side, if your atlas is out on the right, usually you're more restricted on the same side. So if you can't bend your head or flex your head like this way, it's probably because the atlas is out on the right. If you can't go to the left, it's probably out on the left. So for Gabriel, his atlas is out on the right, and then his axis is probably the opposite, but that one. Okay, so I'm just going to loosen this up a little bit. Is it okay if I stretch your neck first?
Yeah.
And that's another thing about like chiropractors. A lot of them don't work on the soft tissue to relax like the muscles and the tendons. They just move the bones. And then as soon as you leave, the bones just get pulled right out of place again, because it's really your soft tissue that's holding the bones in their alignment. And that's how they keep you coming back to them, is they don't fix the soft tissue. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now I'm gonna actually move it. So you wanna hang this arm off your side there, good. And then I'm gonna come across your head. So that's right there. That's where you're kind of uncomfortable, right?
A little bit.
Okay. So I'm gonna come right here. Just let your head kind of fall that way, yeah. And focus on big, slow breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And I'm just going to sit with him a little bit, and I'm waiting till his body relaxes. Because if his body's not relaxed, that's when people will get hurt, is when they're resisting you. Little one. Feel it?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear that? Mm-hmm. That was actually pretty quiet compared to some people.
Yeah.
You feel okay? You move your
No, I
head
really
in?
feel like a big difference. Well, yeah, it's like the center of gravity has been shifted, you know. So
Nice. So now we'll see if there's anything on the other side. So you're gonna hang your arm off on that side, right here. Yeah, there you go. And then just let your ear fall. Yeah. I don't think that one wants to go. Right there, right?
It feels really tender there. It's not really painful, but it's like even a little bit of pressure. It feels very like just tender.
You want me to try again, or you want me to stop there?
We can try again.
Okay. I'm on the right one, right? Right there?
Yeah.
Okay. There it was. Feel that one? Good?
Yeah.
Cool. You want to go on the table? I'm going to do one more thing, and then we'll do the balloons. I know it's a lot. This is my favorite thing to get done. So this is traction. So it's going to just open up his spine from all the way to the top to the bottom. If someone wants to hold his feet, it will get a better movement for him. Are you good with this, Gabriel? Do I have your consent?
Oh, is that where you pull his head? Like, oh, I've always wanted to try one of those.
Yeah. Lift up for a sec. So you're going to keep your teeth and your jaw together because you don't want your jaw rattling around. And you're going to breathe through your nose. Put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Yeah. Does that feel okay on your face, or does it need to be moved at all? Okay. So I'm just going to start with some stretching. Does it feel okay when I pull? Okay. And then we'll go to the side a little bit. Big, slow breaths. You all right? What do you feel?
Oh, I felt it like in the center of my spine.
Mm-hmm. It cracked?
Yeah, I felt like I can almost feel like each one just like separating.
Cool. Let me just pull this out of your way. If you want to move your head around, make sure it's still connected to your body. All right, so now we're going to do the balloons. I took him on a date. It went well. He wants to come home with me. Actually, I need to set up this real quick. Can I use this chair for a second? Thank you. All right, can you stand up again for a second? So this is how we determine which hole we go into out of those 6 holes. You want to just stand right there with your eyes open, just looking straight ahead. So I'm seeing what part of his body is communicating with his brain and what part is not. So if you press someone somewhere and they're strong, that's because their brain, the connection from their brain to that part of the body is strong. If someone's weak or off balance, it's because that connection is disturbed somewhere, right? So see when I push on his right leg, how much his body moves versus how much his body moves when I push on his left leg. Or that was different that time, but. And then these are the edges of your sphenoid. So that's the upper part of your sphenoid. That's the middle. That's the lower. See how much his head moved right there? So we're probably going to start right there because there's something going on there. Maybe there. Okay, so I'm going to start on his lower right one. So I'll just show you on the skull because it's kind of cool for you to be able to visualize. So I'm literally going to go right into that cavity. So you're going to feel it on the roof of your mouth, your maxilla right here, and probably in your zygomatic, your cheekbone.
Okay.
And so the balloon is going to be inflated literally in that hole, and it's going to expand his whole skull. Good?
Cool.
Okay. I'm going to wash my hands. If you want to go face up, have this pillow underneath you. The sphenoid bone is the same shape as your pelvis, so those are like the bookends of your spine. So when we move your sphenoid, your pelvis is going to move. So I use the hip blocks to try to coordinate with the sphenoid. And your right hip is higher, so we're going to use a hip block right there. And then we're going to go into your butt cheek on this side. You're going to bend this leg. Just relax this leg for a second. So when there's a nerve in your leg, when you activate your leg, it shuts off your gag reflex. So for him activating his leg, it's going to prevent him from sucking the balloon down his throat. Old school dentists used to have people lift their legs like this during mouth stuff. So right about here, once the balloon's in, you're going to hold your leg here and you're going to point and roll down like that. You can relax for now. I like to hold the third eye mudra because that's exactly where we're going. So it's your middle finger and then second knuckle together if you want to just hold on your chest. I'm going to go wash my hands if you want to focus on big, slow breaths. Serenity, do we have any Kleenex or tissues? That would be helpful. Thank you. Thank you. So all the balloons are coated in an all-natural antibacterial that has frankincense oil in it. So if you have any infections or parasites up in that cavity, the oils will kill it off. So you might feel a little bit of a burning. So you're going to breathe through your mouth because you don't want to breathe through your nose while I'm doing this part. And I'm going to guide you through what we're doing. So we want your left leg bent again. Yeah, perfect. Feeling okay?
Yeah.
Can I push this more under your shoulders a little bit? Yeah, thank you. And then I'm going to bring your head that way. And your mouth is slightly open, Gabriel. Good. You're breathing through your mouth. Is it okay if I guide the balloon in?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to talk you. I'm not going to actually do it until we're both on the same page. Good. So it probably tickles a little bit. So I'm just going to find the edges of that cavity just to see how big it is. So it's tight right there. I have a lock. So whenever you're ready, because you're in the driver's seat, you're going to take a big breath through your mouth, hold it, and lift your right leg. Good. Good. Do you hear it?
Yeah.
Part of that was my wrist popping and cracking, but I think part of it was you too.
Yeah. Oh.
What did you feel?
I felt the cracking of the bones inside of my skull. Like I literally felt all of it like separating.
Can you isolate on your face like where you felt it?
Yeah. I felt it. First, I felt it in the nasal cavity, like right exactly where you pointed, right underneath here.
Uh-huh.
And then I actually did feel
On the top.
Yeah. I felt it was like here, and then instantly just this expanded. I felt like it was just like a crack from inside my head.
Cool. Do you want to blow your nose before I do the other side? So when you do this, you might think it doesn't work because you'll feel more clogged, but it's all the lymphatic vessels in your head are draining.
Yeah, I instantly felt just so much coming down, like liquid.
Yeah. So you'll be blowing your nose a lot for like 3 days, but like a week from now, it'll feel much more open.
So it's just like normal, basically.
Yeah. Well, hopefully better than normal.
Yeah.
You want to do your middle fingers?
Yeah.
Does that feel like it's out?
No, I just wanted to get the tissue again.
Oh. And then if you want, for some people, I will blow rape after this is all open because it gets really deep.
Let me sit on that for
Yeah.
What is that?
Rape, it's a tobacco plant medicine. It's very like grounding and masculine. I've seen people have trauma releases from it because it's like very, it's not like a psychedelic where you're like all over the place. It's very right now, right here. I like it. It does burn. You feeling okay?
Yeah, like I just feel all that stuff just draining down into my throat, and it feels like almost like a sour taste in my throat.
Part of it is probably that gel that I use on the balloon.
Yeah, I feel like I can taste it.
Do you want to spit?
No, that's good.
It's okay. Do the other side? Okay. I'm gonna bring your head that way a little bit, and then chin up towards the ceiling. So we're going to do the lower left, so it's same spot, just opposite side. Nice. So try to visualize like your whole skull opening. And I'm just going to find the edges. And then whenever you're ready, because I'm just here to help, you're going to take a big breath through your mouth, hold it, and lift that right leg. Gather your breath. That was his nose snapping. Felt that one, right?
Yeah. Oh. Wow.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I felt that felt like way more constricted, but I did feel my nose like that one.
Is it okay if I do a trauma release with you?
Yeah.
So there's this Dr. Berselli. He worked with Iraq war veterans, and he came up with a technique through observing animals. They shake after a fight, And so he found this position with the pelvis and the hips that induces shaking, especially in this sexual area. And right after the balloons is like a perfect time to do it. So you're kind of like in this butterfly position, and he's going to just slowly open and close until you find an angle, even slower, like as slow as you can. You'll hit a certain angle in the hips, and they'll just start convulsing. And when you find that, just stay at that angle. Let me pull these out of the way because this might... Try to even slow it down to like inch by inch as you're opening and closing. I'm just gonna go wash my hands. You feel okay? See how he's kind of quivering like that? Do you feel that, Gabriel?
Yeah, it's like right here.
So there's something that's coming out of his nervous system.
So what's the like prescribed 24 hours? Like what should you, like you said, runny nose, you're gonna expect that 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any like other protocols that you recommend for taking care?
I tell people to take it easy, like no extreme activities, because when those sutures are open, if you were to hit your head, it's more susceptible to injury. So like you don't want to do like, you know, martial arts or something like that after doing this, or football, or
Like 3 days or a week or?
I would say like 2 weeks afterwards. I mean, it's kind of a minor surgery because it's inside your body and we're moving bones. Do you guys want to try doing this while Gabriel's doing it? Would you like to, or are we ready to? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also like 40.
They're called trauma release exercises, or TRE, by Dr. Berselli. If you go on YouTube, Dr. Berselli.
Yeah, it would be great to do them while he's
Okay.
processing. We can sit together.
Yeah, don't stop because it seems like you're on to something. So if you guys want to spread out so you have enough room. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah,
Here.
just spit.
Here, I got you. While we're doing this, I'm going to go around and press on some emotional points in the sternum area. Is there anybody that does not want me to touch them? Everybody's okay with being touched in this area because this is kind of a sensitive area. Good? Okay. And if you change your mind as I come by, just tell me. So you can experiment with different positionings of your feet, how close they are to your butt, but just slowly butterfly your legs open and closed, and try to go as slow as you can. And when you find them start shaking, just stay at that angle until it stops and focus on your breath. And you might feel an emotion come up and then go to a different angle. It's okay if I touch you? So I'm going to press on some points in here that might just bring it to the surface a little bit more. And focus on your breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Is this a good spot right here in your chest?
Mm-hmm.
So the right side of your chest is relationships with other people, and then the left side is your timeline of your childhood. Nice. as hard as you can. Let them like right there. Just relax. Now bring them together as hard as you can. Bring your knees together. I don't think exhale. It's okay to touch you.
as slow as you can. Is this a tender spot right there? Tender. Yeah, okay. Nice. Thank you. You feel okay? You're a little shaken up. How do you feel right now? Does your nose feel straighter? Yeah. I mean, I still feel a little bump, but I feel something. I feel like it went based on this. I feel like I just got punched right against that. Yeah. Your eyes look more open. Yeah. The second one, though, there was a pretty loud snap on your nose. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I felt it. I mean, I'm breathing through my nose. It feels very clogged up. Yeah. It's just it'll be a couple days. Yeah. Yeah, you were blowing your nose a lot. Yeah. It's not coming out. It feels like burnt. You have a lot of lymphatic vessels in your head. For the mucus. Okay. How do you want to transition, or what do you want to do? I'm gonna bring it back into a circle with a grounding breath work. Breathing out. And then we'll take a break. We'll go ahead and start making like lunch / meditative. And then we'll do later tonight. Okay. If you want, I had one more like trauma release thing to show them, but if it's too much, I'm good with being done. Yeah, that's transition. What's up? Yeah, that's transition. Okay. It's just like tapping with eye movement. It's just something that they could do on their own. But I mean, yeah, it's okay. Let's just keep. Yeah, yeah. I'm good with being done. Yeah, thank you for letting me go so long.
Alright, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Have you walked around yet?
Slowly return to our
What's in the
circle.